of the lambs or livestock, the offerings, right? You have a new year of your offerings. Okay? So it's once a year you rededicate your flesh to God. And that's probably a good idea anyway, right? Maybe do that every day too. That'll probably get you out of some trouble. Okay? Okay, so the Torah, the first, of course, Nisan. Alright, and then Tabernacles. And then, of course, Tishri. Okay, but these all symbolize that all throughout the times and seasons, the lunar and the solar observances, we are to be serving God. In all times, in all seasons. Amen? Well, 2 people said amen. The rest of y'all don't want to serve God? That's fine, okay? Actually, it's not fine. Security? No. Okay, but it is for us, these times, these seasons, for us to maintain. God sanctifies them, but we maintain them. We maintain them. It's very similar to when Mordecai told Hadassah that you can do this blessing, and you, your house, your life, your family, y'all will all be blessed, spared, and sanctified. Or you can not do it, it'll still get done, but guess what? Y'all won't be included in the blessing, in the inheritance, in any of it. God incidentally tells us later that those who do not will be cut off. Right? They'll be cut off. It's that simple. Cut off. Let me go further on. Adonai said to Moshe, speak to the Kohanim and tell them that no Kohen is to make themselves clean for any of his people who dies except relatives, except for the young ladies or the young people who do not have anybody, any dependents, any people. The rabbis go a little further on in this though. Because a lot of times someone will say, well, I don't have to do it. It's not my job. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. Right? Because that'll cause me to be unclean. Whatever, right? They'll make some excuse. The rabbis actually say that no. If that person has no one, you go do it even if it means you become unclean. Because if I become unclean, guess what? I can just go get a mikvah and I'm good. Right? But the witness, the effect that you'll have on that life by doing nothing, by being too holy to be involved, is actually not holy at all. That's being very worldly. Well, I can't do that because they're like this, right? I can't go to that restaurant because there's these people there. I can't hang out with them because they go to this place for worship. Be holy. Yeshua said, take the good news to every living creature. He didn't say every living creature except for them, or except for him. Right? They said every living creature. What's the good news? That the Torah is a plan for life. That Messiah is salvation. Let me go further on. So, keeping away from children, keeping children away from contamination, giving the start of living a life of Kedusha the sages tell us, Vemor and Martha, saying it and saying it again, is again the example of passing it on from parents to children, children taking it to their friends and to their children and so on. Continuing, keeping the God of Word eternal. Keeping it relevant. But the primary we set as parents, as brothers, as sisters, is what? What's the primary example that we set for people? What's the primary example that you set? Or that you set? Your character. They're going to see your character. Huh? Your character. I like your first word better. It wasn't character.
Well, it's the same thing.
But, right. But your actions, right? Because if they see your actions, they're always going to see your character. Right? Right? Because you could be a different character in different situations. Right? I mean, you could be here one way and then go to your mama's house and be a whole different way. Or at your job, be completely different. Or when you're alone and then there's a whole new character that pops out, right? Right? So you can be different characters at different times of your life. But your actions are what prove. James, the just, Yeshua's brother, the rabbi out of the 12, said that it's not just your faith, but your actions. Right? You have to show it. You can't just say it. You have to show it. You have to do it. You have to live it. So, the primary example that people see is who you are. Right? Who your kids see that you are when you're not here. Who your co-workers see. Who your wife sees when you close the door. Who your husband sees. This is the primary example. Yes? That's partially true, yes. But every thought does not have to become an action. So we have to.
It's true that actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
People don't want to know what you think, or they want to know who you are, what your actions are. They want to know that you can say all you want, I care, or I this for you. But if you show them something different, it's irrelevant to words that are coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you an example. It's not a great example, but one time Ishka and I were setting up before a service that we used to conduct, and we used to have to put out all the chairs ourselves, put the table up ourselves, do the whole bit, right? Just her and I. And there was a sister, and because I didn't stop and say hello to her, for her my actions said that I didn't care, right? When in reality, I was busy setting up for service. Now I can see where she would understand that, where she would get that. But we need to give people the opportunity to exercise good actions, right? To exercise faith. Let me move further on. But the question is, do people witness you cutting corners? Cursing? What do the children and the friends in your life witness about God in you? Do they see God in you? Do they see a form of godliness? A form of goodness? God told Moshe that the high priest may not defile themselves. But if they had to, because it had to be done, they would go through the same rites as on Yom Kippur. The same rite, just return to God. Cleanse yourself, return to God. So don't let anything else be your excuse for not doing the goodness of God. I can't do that because sorry, it's not valid. Do the service of God. Let me go further on for the last point. But what does this specific point teach us? That taking care of our fellow creation is important to God. It's vitally important to God that we care for other people. It's vitally important to God. And this is so important that this takes precedence over our own spiritual task. If he's commanding the high priest to do this for the girl that he doesn't know, what does that say about us?
Amen.
That we get to look the other way because we're not high priests?
No.
Because if you say that, Peter would argue with you to the end of time about that. And from what I understand, you don't want to argue with Peter, okay? He was the guy you didn't want to argue with. Right? It's kind of like trying to get Steve to eat cake. Probably wouldn't be a great idea.
Good luck.
Huh?
Good luck.
All right. Let's move on, guys. Secondly, we sometimes encounter people in our lives who we may consider, figuratively speaking, unattained, lifeless, unkosher, defiled. We might, I haven't met anybody like that. And I'm sure none of you have met anyone that you consider defiled. But it tells us that in these cases we should seize the opportunity to assist them in reminding ourselves that even the high priest is required to disregard his exalted status to help a strange girl. There is no one that is beneath you. God has called you to reach out to all. Amen? So when you're there and you meet someone who may not have the obligation or the privilege, reach out to that lifeless person. Help to revive them. Help to introduce them to a Creator that loves them and has purpose in their life. In our life, we must speak not at people, not about people, but to people. I know as parents, sometimes we get in the habit of speaking at our children. Right? This. That's how it is. Instead of conversing with them, seeing where they're at, and helping to guide them to a more kosher destination.
Amen.
So speak to the people around your lives, not just in your words. Not just in your words, but in your actions, in your deeds. In your actions, in your deeds. As the Father has lovingly guided our lives with tenderness, He has also crushed us to produce oil for His glory and His kingdom, that our lives should be brighter. Understand, to feed people, the fish had to be broken. When we begin our walk in His love, in His Torah, in our lives, as citizens of His kingdom, our own lives have to be broken. If there's no point of struggle in your life, or how would you be relatable to anyone? How? Are you going to do the famous lie? Oh, I know where you're at. I've been there. You're going to do that one? It's insincere. It's dishonest. You may not ever have stepped on their path or their journey, because that's their path, their journey. But you may have been in a similar situation. And your life will reflect, and you'll be able to relate to that person, and they'll relate to you. That way their life may begin to have life within it. Yeshua said a very curious thing, that you may have life in the life that you live. Right? It's a curious thing. That you may fully be capable and illuminated in this dark world. That your life will have purpose, blessing, healing. That others may reach and touch the hems of God's garments through your life. So, Amor, listen, tell, share, and be blessed. God bless you guys.